out of the heartland, a voice of the people, by the people, and for the people. This is the Jake Merrick Show. On the new Freedom 96.9.
Well, good morning, Oklahoma, and you awakened Oklahoma Patriot. Good to be with you this morning. Wednesday morning, August 7th, 7:05 a.m. Looks like it's 73 degrees outside. Going to be a beautiful day. Got a full show for you. Got your headlines coming up. Got your Warrior Wednesday. Going to highlight an Oklahoma Olympian. And then at the bottom of the hour, we're going to talk with two ladies with Pike Off about the Oklahoma Turnpike. So more details about that turnpike plan to run through Norman.
All things Oklahoma, right here on the Jake Merrick Show, on the new Freedom 96.9.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. 7:35 a.m., 73 degrees outside. And we've been talking about it a lot. I know that all of you out down in Norman area, this is high on the priority list because so many of you are going to be directly impacted and are currently being impacted by this push for the turnpike expansion. And so this is such a controversial issue across the state of Oklahoma. Turnpikes in general, right? Turnpikes in general. And while we say, yes, we need roads, and those roads inevitably are going to have to cut through property. And, you know, we understand that. We understand eminent domain, even though in so many ways I detest it. I mean, because I just put myself in their place. And if it was my home, my property, would I appreciate the government saying, would I appreciate the government coming in and just taking it, saying, yeah, I think we need that for the greater good, regardless if it hurts you or your family. So these are some of the issues we're talking about with this turnpike expansion, and those that have been right in the middle of it are those that connected with Pike Off. We got Amy Cerato here and Whitney Mullica. Ladies, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having us. Yes, thank you.
Well, I appreciate what you guys have done and are doing in your effort to bring the spotlight and the attention to the turnpike, the OTA. And I spoke about this earlier in the week, talking about this notice that the OTA gave to the citizens of Norman, saying that we may need to come on your property. And talk to me about that notice. You wrote about it recently in the Substack article, and you've talked about it, written about it a lot. You've been on my show before. But what about this recent notice of the OTA to the citizens of Norman about, hey, we may be coming on your land?
So if we can back up just a little bit, back in February of 2022, the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority came out with an announcement that they were going to put in these new 59 miles of turnpikes through Cleveland County. And Pike Off OTA, which is our group, our C4, we started up to try to fight back. And we did a lot of things right. We've called for an investigative audit that is still ongoing with the Attorney General. We've got the Legislative Office of Fiscal Transparency, the Loft Report through the legislators, looking at the OTA and their practices. We've got a documentary coming out this fall, and we've been in the Supreme Court. And unfortunately, the Supreme Court, in a split decision, decided that the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority could move ahead. And so just recently, the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority has notified people along the east-west connector that they need to get on their property to do geotechnical engineering investigations. And everyone, your listeners need to know that the Turnpike Enabling Act in Statute 69 is a supplemental act that takes second place to any of our other state laws. And so we have no trespass laws that the citizens can use to keep anybody off their property. And so
now, you said the Turnpike Enabling Act? Is that what you called it?
The Turnpike Enabling Act, which is...
So that would give them the right to access property.
Sure, the Turnpike Enabling Act gives them the right to build roads where they're legislatively authorized. But we have no trespassing laws in Title 21 that says that you have the right to keep engineers and surveyors off your property. And so we encouraged everyone along the east-west connector to do so. But the notice that was given let everyone know that the east-west connector design is moving forward. And it's moving forward without any environmental impact statements. It's moving forward without the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority acknowledging the number of people they're going to displace, which is 10% of the city of Norman.
Yeah, that's just staggering to think about that. And how does that compare then to previous turnpikes?
So it is the largest eminent domain take in the history of the state of Oklahoma. We are at 15 to 20 homes per mile, where a turnpike like the Kilpatrick took less than 1 home per mile. So
wow. And how many miles is this?
59 miles.
59 miles with,
yes.
You said an average of 15 homes per mile.
Average of 15 homes per mile. And, multiple people live in each home, so that's thousands of people that will be displaced. And Pikeoff OTA and the Oklahomans for Responsible Transportation have been screaming for answers for the last 2.5 years. And if we can't stop the turnpikes from destroying Norman, we want them to answer to the people, and we want them to answer questions about why they need to take 10% of the city of Norman in eminent domain take, and then why they're not going to pay the people appropriately.
Right, I'm going to get into that.
For those homes.
Yeah, the compensation there is also interesting, especially compared to previous turnpike expansion projects. Whitney, what are you hearing from the people in Norman? I know that you guys specifically will be talking to those that are opposed to the turnpike. Are you coming across anyone who is in favor of this?
I haven't met very many people who are in favor of it. I have met people who aren't aware it's even coming. I mean, even just yesterday.
That's unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah, yesterday I was having lunch with a girl and she had no idea. I'm like, are you living under a rock? But some people don't even know what's happening. Yeah. And, for people who aren't going to be displaced, I think it's important to realize that if you replace tax-paying citizens with pavement and concrete, we're affecting our ad valorem taxes. So that is going to have rippling effects with civil services and our schools. And so it's not just the people who are being displaced that should be caring about this. Everyone should care. And just last week at the Norman City Council meeting, they bragged about how they're going to make a 5-layer George Bush turnpike style, down there in Dallas. They're going to put this right on Indian Hills Road. That should scare people. Do we really need that? Do we want that?
Right. That's what was the reason for that? Was it projected population growth, a projected traffic growth? I mean, because you kind of look at the current situation. Of course, I hate to take 35 south through Norman, I mean, it's always congested, but I'm not sure it justifies a 5-layer stacked, what was it called?
I think they just rely on bad data. They rely on models and projections that are historically incorrect.
Right. And as a civil engineer, civil engineers can build it, but should we build it? And we don't need a 5-stack flyover like Dallas. We are a city of 130,000. Our population projection is not that much. And they were also bragging about a 7,000-foot bridge over the Canadian River, and the public works director was drooling because it's going to be the longest bridge in Oklahoma's history. And again, just because you can build it doesn't mean you should build it. And it's a very environmentally sensitive area, and the traffic does not promote this kind of design that's coming through. And I think your listeners need to understand that the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority is not really a transportation planning agency. They're a bank. And so they're there to make money for the lawyers, for the bankers, for the engineers, and for the contractors, and on the backs of the citizens, which they do not make whole when they take homes and property for eminent domain. And that's what I really think that the citizens of Oklahoma need to focus on, is we need to strengthen our eminent domain laws so that the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority cannot roll over these people and give them on average 50% of their fair market value and pay no relocation costs and pay no rentals and help them in no way, shape, or form, kick them out of their homes in 90 days and say, hey, we want your land. And the state of Oklahoma already said you can't use eminent domain for economic development purposes, but what does the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority use eminent domain then for?
Here with Amy Cerato and Whitney Mullica from Pikeoff OTA. And so you mentioned the numbers, the compensation to landowners. Talk to me more about that. What kind of compensation are they getting down in Norman? And how does that compare to projects in the past?
Sure. So they haven't started the eminent domain taking yet. They have to get to 60% design is what they tell us. And that date is September 2nd. So this fall, they could be walking up to someone's house and sending them a letter saying, your house will be taken. But I want to talk about the Kickapoo in Oklahoma County because that's very recent. That's back in 2016 to 2019. And of the 104 homes that they took, the average first offer that they gave them was 50% of the fair market value. 44 property owners took the OTA to court. That's 40% of the homes taken. Now, a lot of people didn't have the means to continue, and so they ended up settling. But some of the people that had the means to take them all the way to a jury court, which took upwards of 5 years, received 600% more than their initial offer. So, for example, a property owner was offered $31,000. The jury in 2018 offered them $220,000. One was offered $1.1 million. The jury awarded them $2.9 million. But not everybody has the means. And, you know, Whitney can talk about this, but the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority typically picks on lower income areas, persistently impoverished areas.
Well, in this example, you had 60% who did not challenge this, who simply took whatever the OTA offered them,
right,
which was probably, like you said, 50% less than the actual value of their property.
That's right, because they didn't have the means to take them to court. Once the OTA deposits the money with the county, if you take that money out to go buy yourself another house or to rent another home, you have given up your right to fight them anymore for more money. And who think about your friends, who has the money to have the value of your house sitting in a bank account? Who has that money to go then buy another house without using that money right there? And so that is one of the big problems with eminent domain is it picks on the poor, and it picks on people that cannot afford to fight. And that's what we need to change.
And I wouldn't even just pick on the Turnpike Authority with this. It's just an eminent domain practices in general. It's a numbers game. They're going to go for, you know, the most economically sound path, which oftentimes historically has put people who do not have political power right at the crossroads. And they're the ones that get taken advantage of. And so, like she's saying, you know, you have people that do have the means to go and try to fight these type of things and try to get what they're actually, you know, valued and what they should be receiving. But a lot of people just have to take it and try to move on and take whatever they're offered. And so it's just it's a bad practice of eminent domain that at the federal level, you see there is a program called the Reconnecting Communities program where they're actually trying to go back and reconnect places that were destroyed during the 50s and the 60s whenever these kind of projects were really ramping up. And so it's kind of funny how history repeats itself, because you see a lot of uprisings all over the nation right now. There's a group called freeway-fighters.org. All over the nation, we have people who are fighting freeway projects, and it's almost like a repeat of the 50s and 60s.
Here with Amy Cerato and Whitney Mullica with Pike Off OTA. Going to go to a break and come back with some more conversation surrounding this turnpike expansion headed towards Norman and the whole issue of eminent domain. So stay tuned for more of that. All right, guys, welcome back to the last leg of the show, 7:51 a.m., 73 degrees outside. And here with Amy Cerato and Whitney Mullica with Pike Off OTA, talking about the turnpike expansion headed towards Norman. Welcome back to the show, ladies.
Thank you.
You know, they're so bashful. It's hard to get out, you know, everything. No, actually, I appreciate you guys because you're very outspoken and very well informed. You bring the receipts and you do your homework, and you guys have been up at the Capitol lobbying and have had some victories. So talk to me about that.
Yes, so we've had a very, very dedicated team that's done an excellent job working with our legislature. We were able to pass in the last couple of years 2 laws. One was House Bill 2263, which changed the way that the board of OTA is selected. Instead of the governor having all 6 selections, we have the governor has 2, the House Speaker has 2, and then the Senate Pro Tem has 2 as well. So just trying to diversify a little bit of the leadership there. And then we also passed House Bill 3159, which basically was supposed to give homeowners the first right of refusal. But somehow OTA is able to lobby through their liaison, and they did kind of do some things that may make it a little more difficult for that law to have the teeth that we wanted it to have, because now they're trying to say that agencies can give property between one another. But the point of the law was if the OTA comes in and uses eminent domain to take your property and then they don't actually need it, instead of getting to go and auction it off to their real estate developing friends, they have to at least come back to you and say, hey, you have the first right of refusal. Do you want this back or not? And that's our intention. So we have had some wins at the legislature, and we are so grateful for our representatives and our senators who have worked very hard for us. And we hope to continue to have success this next legislative session.
Yeah. You want to give a shout out to any of those legislators? I mean, we always like to highlight the ones that are advocates for the people.
Well, the ones that I would like to talk about are the true conservatives and the Democrats that have voted for us. And there's 26 true conservatives in the House. There's less in the Senate, and I'll say that. But Rick West and Tommy Gann and Representative Sterling and Annie Mentz, and there's a lot of people that I'm forgetting, but there's been a lot of people that have worked really hard. And then Senator Mary Boren, and on the Senate side, Senator Bullard has worked hard for us.
I love that. We disagree on so many things with Democrats, but there are some things like this where we get on the same page, and so we have to give credit where credit is due.
That's
so
right.
Yeah, thank you for that fight, Senator Boren. And again, we're talking about eminent domain, and does the government have the right to take your property? Well, right now they do, and so we're talking about how do we fight that. And I was talking with you off air just about how this whole conversation can kind of feel a little hopeless, thinking, well, this is a huge machine. It's going to bulldoze through. We can't stop it. All we can do is kind of delay the inevitable. Is that true? I mean, we have some testimony down in Texas of an actual victory.
Yeah, Texas has been really successful against their Texas Trans Corridor, but one of the reasons why they were successful is, number one, it was a foreign entity coming in and buying it, and nobody in Texas wanted a foreign entity to come in and run that Texas Trans Corridor. And it was litigated at the federal level. And so that's why they won. And we need to litigate at the federal level if we're going to win, because our state Supreme Court has some issues with integrity, and we don't feel like we get a fair fight. We won in district court, as everyone knows. We beat the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority with an open meetings violation in district court with a summary judgment, hands down. And 6 months later, the Supreme Court overturned that. And the Supreme Court took our district court case against the legislative authorization and brought it up as an original jurisdiction to the Supreme Court, in a 6-3 decision, voted against us. So we know that is not a possibility for us to win in state court, but we think that the federal agencies that the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority has to get permission from to cross Lake Thunderbird and the Canadian River Corridor can step in and still deny at this point. But we are banking on making some serious changes in the legislature, and we need our legislative contingent to understand the gravity of this situation, that we cannot sit by and let the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority or any other state entity with the power of eminent domain to steamroll its citizens. We have to put protections in place. It's imperative. Even if they don't agree that the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority needs to be abolished, they have to agree with us that we have to protect our citizens.
We're with Amy Cerato and Whitney Mullica with Pikeoff OTA. And, again, I say I'm not against roads. I'm not even against turnpikes. It's just it needs to be done the right way. And if people's land has to be taken, I mean, let's fairly and justly compensate them. Lots of issues there dealing with this, and I think we are battling some corruption in the government. I mean, we know it's widespread, obviously, and we just want to make sure there is absolute transparency and accountability to any government agency. You guys mentioned the turnpike issue in Texas. One of the guys that had highlighted that in a documentary is actually helping you guys on a documentary. Is that right?
Yes. So we were fortunate enough to reach out to Mr. Molina down in Texas and just kind of show him what we've been dealing with. He was able to look at our website, pikeoffota.com, and he agreed to work with us, and he's going to help us get the story out. And the story is not about the Oklahoma Turnpike Authority. The story is about the people who are being affected.
Wow. And so when is that expected to be out?
So we hope to have it screened down in Norman in October.
Okay.
And we're going to bring it around the state. We're going to go up to Bartlesville and Jenks and some other places where we have some freeway fighter friends that along the Gilcrease that would like us to come up. And if anyone wants to go check out his work, it's Truth Be Told, and Truth Be Told, TOLLED. And you can watch his videos that he's done. And it's just heart-wrenching to watch the people go through those fights about eminent domain. And we hope that that our legislators and our citizens feel the same way after they watch our documentary.
Now, just briefly here in a few seconds, is it a hard stop? No, you do not want the turnpike, period? Or is there another possible route or anything like that y'all would suggest?
As a civil engineer, it's a hard stop. We do not need any new alignments. We need to fix the infrastructure we have and take care of the maintenance liabilities that we've accrued over the years that we cannot fund. We do not need another concrete heat sink running through our cities that not only destroys it environmentally, but creates more traffic and more headaches and more maintenance that our children and our grandchildren will not be able to pay for.
Well, there you go. And again, I appreciate all of your work. And how can people find out more about what you guys are doing?
They should check out Amy Cerato's Substack. You can just Google Amy Cerato Substack and you'll find it very easily. She's got some great information there. And then, of course, check out our website. And we're always hoping to get new donors. This kind of fight is not cheap, but we are in it for the long haul. And I just appreciate everybody who has been supporting us so far and all the hard work that everyone's done.
That's pikeoffota.com. I appreciate you guys this morning.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. All right, we go check it out, guys. I appreciate you guys tuning in. And, of course, share the show, share the love. We always have some amazing conversations and guests. And so I'd like to get the word out across the state. We'll do it again tomorrow. So keep standing, keep fighting, keep hoping. And I'll see you then right here on the Jake Merrick Show.
We will make America great again.
The Jake Merrick Show is a product of Freedom 96.9. All content is the property of Champlin Broadcasting. Any use of the broadcast without consent is prohibited.